Hi there, this is NTV Tonight. Thanks very much for joining us. These are the top stories we have lined up for you.
Tonight, changes in government. President Kenyatta kicks Mwangi Kiunjuri out of cabinet.
The ones I haven't mentioned are because they're either in place. If they're not in place, then so be it.
I'm not going anywhere. You keep it cool, I keep it cool.
Mutahi Kagwe and Betty Maina nominated to cabinet. Plus, from the economy that's left echoes in pockets to the political fabric that's tearing apart amid the erupting mountain, the president moves to address various pressing issues.
I am not against anybody. I am for 47 million Kenyans.
Also tonight, the sins of saviors, discontentment and disgust as High Court fully reinstates Child Welfare Society CEO Irene Mureithi. And empty classrooms, frightened teachers, cries for intervention. The grim reality of the recent terror attacks in northern Kenya.
We are ready to work, but we work in a safe place.
The local community must now be interrogated.
NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi.
David Agondoa joins us in sign language interpretation tonight. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has finally pulled the trigger on the long-anticipated shake-up of his cabinet, proving that there is bite to his bark after all. Mwangi Kiunjuri is the biggest casualty after repeated dress downs in public. NTV's Olive Burrows has the latest for us. It certainly has been a rather big news day, some shocking changes and perhaps some expected changes as well. And the president has also appointed 15 chief administrative secretaries, 7 of whom he says are youth. And he's also reassigned 9 principal secretaries and nominated 6 new PSs. So for some it was news that was perhaps known to them, but for others, big changes, and some cabinet secretaries now also have a lot on their in tray, and we will highlight some of those jobs that are lined up already. And of course, some cabinet secretaries do need to be vetted. That's 2 of them, and we'll bring you those names in just a moment because they aren't yet cabinet secretaries. They come from outside that domain, and the rest have been reshuffled. Olive Burrows, you now give us more details on that.
Yes, Smriti, there has been a reshuffle, and just like in a card game, there are winners and there are losers. Let's see how the die fell. The biggest casualty is Mwangi Kiunjuri, who has been shown the door that way. He is now the former cabinet secretary for agriculture. He relinquishes the job to Peter Munya, who is now the agriculture, livestock and fisheries as well as cooperatives cabinet secretary. Now, he has a daunting docket, and that is based on the president's statement this morning. He has now to take over efforts by Kiunjuri to shield farmers' yields from the invading locusts, managing the restructuring of the Kenya Tea Development Agency and implementation of the Coffee Task Force recommendation. Now, not forgetting the expected sugar and maize task force recommendations, which are coming up shortly, as President Uhuru Kenyatta said. Now, Monica Juma and Rachel Omamo switch places. Monica Juma, Rachel Omamo. Now, Rachel Omamo becomes the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, and Juma takes charge at the Defense Ministry. Both of them contending with the Somalia situation. Omamo now tasked with tactfully navigating frayed relationships with Kenya's northern neighbor over their shared maritime border. For Juma, her focus will be on managing the withdrawal of KDF forces from Somalia in 2021 as part of the Africa Union forces and defending Kenyan borders from the Al-Shabaab. Also swapping places are Helsia's Cicely Kariuki and Simon Chelugui. Kariuki taking over the Water, Irrigation and Sanitation Ministry. Chelugui, meanwhile, takes over from Ukur Yatani at the Ministry of Labour, and fears abound over the welfare of children under the care of the state, with the reinstatement of Irene Mureithi as the CEO of the Child Welfare Society, among other issues of child welfare and protection. Yatani substantively takes over as the National Treasury and Planning Cabinet Secretary. meaning that Henry Rotich goes the way of Mwangi Kiunjuri, and that is out the door. Yatani Like Munya has a daunting in-tray. He's charged with ensuring that Kenya meets her loan obligations, finances the advancements in the agricultural sector in pursuit of value addition as part of the Big Four agenda, and finding the money to bankroll the Building Bridges initiative. Now, the new entrants are former Nyeri Senator Mutahi Kagwe, who's been tasked by President Uhuru Kenyatta to take over the health ministry as he suspended the new NHIF regulations pending further consultations. And joining him is Betty Minor, who has been nominated as the CES Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, moving up from the Principal Secretary of Trade. Smriti, there you have it.
All right, Olive, thank you. And of course, one of the biggest changes is that of kicking Mwangi Kiunjuri out of cabinet and effectively government. And just a few hours after the announcement, the now former CS responded to the president's move. "I am not surprised and I am not going anywhere." That is part of the message the defiant Kiunjuri had for his former boss. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports on the intrigues that led to this moment.
The ones I haven't mentioned are because they're either in place. If they're not in place, then, yeah, so be it. Kenya moves on.
Festus Mwangi Kiunjuri, the man at the center of this statement, the man who has been kicked out of cabinet but has wasted no time in getting his word in right after officially becoming the former Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries Cabinet Secretary.
The president's decision has taken me by no surprise. I thank God. I feel relieved.
That relief, he says, has come after years of humiliation he hid from the public as he carried out his duties.
Even in the face of being hounded out of government, Mwangi Kiunjuri maintained that defiant tone that he had adopted in the run-up to today's events. And he says, you have not seen the last of him.
I will continue to serve this country faithfully in other capacities. Make no mistake, I'm not going anywhere. I will be with you around.
Ahead of the 2017 election, President Kenyatta implored the seasoned politician not to contest for a political seat as he wanted him on his cabinet. Kiunjuri obliged, but now he has been sent packing years before the end of the president's term. He says he does not take offense in the move, but he also spoke in veiled statements as a source to show that he was not shaken.
But it's not that I'm lacking in many things that I can say. Remember, for any action, there will be reaction. You keep it cool, I keep it cool. For any action, there will be reaction.
Analysts say Kiunjuri's apparent angling to be the Mount Kenya kingpin had been akin to asking trouble. The heavy clouds ahead of the rains coming in 2018, when in the midst of the maize buying scandal, his boss gave him a public dress down. In October of the same year, he was once again on the receiving end of another presidential tongue lash.
Ndipo nilisema waziri wa kilimo Bwana Kiunjuri, tujue ya kwamba sasa mchezo umeisha. Tafuta hawa watu ambao wanakula mali ya wengine, utuletee tufunge, ama wewe mwenyewe utakuwa na shida katika hiyo shida.
I've once again said the president is my friend. Sawa. And therefore, when time comes, when I'm provoked, when I feel it is important to talk, to disseminate any information, I will do it.
But another issue the president may have taken with Kiunjuri is his open defiance to the presidential directive that government officials desist from engaging in politics. He even challenged the president to endorse his deputy.
If any word you make, and any word you make, it's like an oath. You have made it, not to the people of this country, but to God. So it is always important that we keep our word, na vile tunasema kama viongozi na tukielekea mbele. The covenant.
Late last year, Kiunjuri led a group of MPs from Mount Kenya in supporting DP William Ruto and openly endorsing him for the presidency, coming at a time when there was a clear division between the president and the deputy president's camp.
I shall remain, as I have always been, independent, principled, and firm, as I've been throughout my political career. I shall remain faithful and live to the covenant. I will truly live to the covenant.
In his exit speech, the former CS appeared to be taking on the president and sought to keep the public guessing on his next move.
Kwa maana nimekuwa kwa siasa kwa zaidi ya miaka 25. In fact, nimefanya siasa miaka mingi kuliko ile nimeishi hii dunia. Na nimeona mengi. Na wale wananijua, wanajua if you require a good general. Ukitaka jemedari ambaye hatakuwasha, mimi nitakuwa na wewe.
Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Well, preceding the announcement of changes in government, in his address to the nation, President Uhuru Kenyatta seemed to have been building up to the firing of the Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries Cabinet Secretary, Mwangi Kiunjuri. He addressed issues and gave a raft of directives seeking to fix the mess in the agriculture sector, which appeared to be Kiunjuri's mess. The sector has seen the rise of disgruntled voices, poorer farmers who are choking under the grip of cartels. Lillian Kiaria now takes us through some of the highlights of the planned changes in agriculture.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has spoken to the hue and cry of various farmers in the country. Tea farmers have been decrying low prices, delayed payments, low initial payment by the Kenya Tea Development Agency, and fluctuations in net income of tea farmers attributed to the captivity by cartels.
What you can see here.
The operations at the KTDA have been a pain point for farmers.
There are some operational and governance challenges that have emerged in the last few years. Key amongst these is the conflict of interest by directors and lack of clarity in the declaration of dividends by subsidiary companies.
President Kenyatta has issued a directive seeking to have KTDA and the entire marketing of tea restructured. KTDA has for years enjoyed the privilege of being a private entity devoid of government interference.
I further direct the Ministry of Agriculture to immediately explore the option of KTDA paying farmers no less than 50% of their deliveries as monthly payments, with the balance being paid as annual bonus.
Ordinarily, KTDA pays 16 shillings per month for every kilogram delivered to a tea factory. Farmers are then forced to wait until all their tea is sold at the Mombasa auction, and after an aggregate of their sales is done, their balances are paid back in bonus form. President Kenyatta has directed the Ministry of Agriculture not to allow non-registered brokers as tea growers to sell the product.
These middlemen, variously known as Sokohuru on one side or Mukohoro on another, purchase tea from the farmers on a cash-on-delivery basis and then on-sell it to KTDA in their own names.
With influx of cheaper milk imports from Uganda being blamed on eating into Kenya's farmers' produce, this statement implies that farmers will continue suffering.
I have also directed the National Treasury to impose a 16% VAT tax on all milk products that have originated from outside the EAC, the East African Community.
The president seems to have overruled a recent proposal by the Ministry of Agriculture to subsidize milk coming from the East African Community. The Treasury was also directed to release 660 million shillings to the Kenya National Trading Corporation to purchase all the excess rice from Kano Plains and Moya to furnish boarding schools and disciplined forces, and a further 575 million shillings to new KCC for 2 milk plants. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
The icy relationship between the executive and the judiciary was also a key pointer in the president's speech. He once again hit out at the courts for what he put out as failing to rise to the occasion in the war on graft. The president cited the case against confessed drug traffickers Baktash and Ibrahim Akasha, which saw no conclusion here in Kenya. Malmiendo looks at the head of state's expectations in the efforts to slay corruption.
The judiciary is on the president's line of fire again. And this time it's about what the head of state says is a ball dropped in the war against crime and corruption. He went on to cite the case of the Akasha brothers' convictions in the United States on account of drug trafficking.
Now the judiciary should give us convictions as an indication that we are winning this war. And to that extent, I think it is a shame on our country that we prosecuted a case against drug traffickers in our country and we couldn't get a prosecution.
The president has slammed the courts for, according to him, failing to carry their weight after state agencies, including himself, have done their part.
From ministers to governors, senior government officers, procurement officers, I have been on the front line. And since I respect the principle of separation of powers, I have no power of convicting the accused.
This is not only a reiteration, but also a rephrase of a statement that he had previously made. The judiciary has, on its part, on various occasions, accused the Directorate of Public Prosecutions and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations for presenting weak cases in court. The lack of convictions has also been attributed to the growth of cartels in size and influence, leaving public resources at their mercy or the lack of it. The NIS is to address cartels operating in the public systems of budgeting, procurement, regulation and illegal rigging of markets. President Kenyatta has further directed the service to put the agricultural sector under the microscope.
I further direct that the DCI should take the necessary action, working alongside the Director of Public Prosecutions to confront these cartels.
The statement by President Uhuru Kenyatta shows his renewed pledge on the fight against corruption. He says he will not be intimidated, neither will he show any favoritism. But the question on Kenyans' minds is, will 2020 really bring any convictions? Mel Miendo, NTV.
Well, as he reaffirmed his commitment to fight corruption, the president also defended his decision to extend the term of the Building Bridges Task Force by another 6 months. He said his intention is to unite and not divide the country, as some have implied. NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
Good morning.
President Uhuru Kenyatta sought to allay fears that the BBI task force was meant to push some individuals into the political cold.
My whole objective in the remaining part of my term is to unify Kenyans. I find it unfortunate that in the process of unifying Kenyans, people feel like they're being left out.
Kenyatta was speaking as the debate on the BBI report continues to divide opinion among politicians, with those allied to Deputy President William Ruto terming it a ploy to create positions for ODM leader Raila Odinga. But the head of state was keen for those with opposing views to conduct themselves with decorum.
Let us not allow competitive politics, which is always what ruins our country, right, to get in the way of dealing with real issues that Kenyans are concerned about.
Kenyatta had on Monday gazetted the extension of the 14-member task force to collect additional views from Kenyans and refine its recommendations. But activist Okiya Omtata went to court to have the Gazette notice nullified, arguing that the extension is in breach of the law and that the activities of the team should not be paid for using public funds. The BBI team has until June 30th to submit a comprehensive final report to the government.
I am not against anybody. I am for 47 million Kenyans.
Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi on Monday said the extension will provide a clear path on ways the recommendations by the team can be implemented. Silas Apollo, NTV.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has wittily caved in to demands by a section of leaders and residents of Mount Kenya region to address challenges facing the agriculture sector and put the farmers first. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Mureithi reports on the president's efforts to pacify the mountain at a time when the cry to revive the agriculture sector was becoming deafening.
The political lava in Mount Kenya has been boiling, and no sooner had the mountain erupted Then the president swung into action in a bid to forestall further damaging eruptions.
My second intent for the year is to increase the money in the pocket of our farmers.
And with that, the president started a 10-minute sector-by-sector revival plan that will benefit the Mount Kenya region a lot. The president touched on issues that have made him fall out with the base, leading to the people to decry his absence and lack of interest in their pain. President Kenyatta says he's been digging into the root cause of the deteriorating agricultural sector and now has some answers.
I've also therefore directed action to increase the revenue to farmers as opposed to the middlemen and brokers.
The president says he is not to blame for the struggling agricultural sector, but he is now correcting the wrongs.
I further direct the Ministry of Agriculture to immediately explore the option of KTDA, paying farmers no less than 50% of their deliveries as monthly payments, with the balance being paid as annual bonus.
The president's hands-off approach to issues affecting the people of the mountain had given impetus to Deputy President William Ruto's Mount Kenya allies, who made it a popular refrain at every available function.
Tukisema bei ya kahawa ni mbaya, sio kuchapa serikali, kwa sababu serikali ni sisi tuliunda na serikali ni yetu. Kusema bei ya maziwa imeharibiwa na wale wanafanya biashara ya maziwa na wale pengine mabrokers, hiyo sio kuchapa mtu binafsi. Ni lazima tuchunge uchumi wa nchi.
Tukirudi huko bunge vile tumeambiwa hatuleti mswada, nitaleta mswada ya kusema hivi, itaikuwa inaitwa GMR bill, guaranteed minimum return. Itasema ya kwamba liwe liwalo, mtu wa kahawa alipwe shilingi 100 kwa kilo. Mtu wa chai bonus shilingi 50 kwa kilo. Mtu wa maziwa shilingi 40 kwa lita.
Now that the president has given directions on how he would want the agriculture sector revived, it will be interesting to see how this message is going to be perceived in the mountain region, because it had become a topic of discussion for every leader and resident every time they stood to speak, and had actually been a point of departure for the president and the people of Mount Kenya. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV in Nairobi County.
After his address in Mombasa, the president made his way to Hika, and Nakuru Town West MP David Gikaria were barred from entering the function, where the head of state was to give 68,000 title deeds to settlers in Naivasha, Njoro and Rongai. Kihika took to social media to express her disappointment, and Gilgil MP Martha Wangari and Subukia MP Samuel Gashobe were later allowed entry following the intervention by the regional commander George Natembeya. President Kenyatta urged leaders to shun divisive politics and focus on serving the people.
Mwaka wa kutimizia wananchi ahadi, sio kila saa kuchapana siasa kama hakuna chochote kingine ambacho tuko nayo ya kufanya. Kuna kazi kubwa ya kuunganishia watu stima, ya kuhakikisha wana maji, watoto wetu wamesoma, wale wengine ambao hawana kazi tuwatafutie kazi. Tuhakikishe ya kwamba chakula ambacho tunalima, wakulima wetu wanapata bei sawa.
Now, the Ministry of Health is set to halt the implementation of the new NHIF regulations until further consultations are held. This follows a directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The new NHIF regulations required that defaulters pay one-off for 1 year and wait for 3 months before accessing medical services in preferred hospitals. It also stipulated that all married individuals would only be allowed to enlist a single spouse and a maximum of 5 children as beneficiaries.
I am aware of the proposed changes in the fees and structure of insurance benefits by the NHIF. And given my administration's commitment to providing affordable health care, I am today directing the Ministry of Health to immediately halt the implementation of this proposal to allow for further consultation.
Elsewhere now, and to one of our other top stories, embattled Child Welfare Society of Kenya Chief Executive Irene Mureithi has been fully reinstated. This comes amidst a high court order that also lifts an earlier freeze on all the society's bank accounts. The latest development comes 3 months after NTV aired an expose bringing to question the leadership alleged to have misappropriated funds and mistreated vulnerable children.
It was not a warm welcome for CEO Irene Mureithi as she attempted to access the headquarters of the Child Welfare Society of Kenya premises in December. This was shortly after a court ruled that she was allowed to remain as the chief executive of the institution charged with taking care of the country's most vulnerable children, despite questions over her leadership. Now, the financial gates that had been closed are opened after the High Court lifted the freeze on all the society's bank accounts on Monday. The parties to the case signed a consent document that has now been accepted as a court order. Other key things agreed on include the reinstatement of the CEO and the board of directors on condition it will forward any grants, donations, or gifts from the government and donors to the board of trustees. The Board of Trustees will nominate 2 representatives to the Board of Directors, and the day-to-day running of the society will be done by the trustees. The CWSK is required to promote public-private sector partnerships for sustainable child welfare programs, and it was also resolved that all members of staff on the payroll of the society during the impasse and up to and after October 7th last year remain in employment. This comes just 3 months after NTV aired Sins of Saviors, an investigation that raised serious questions about the operations at the Child Welfare Society under the leadership of CEO Irene Mureithi, with claims of misappropriation of funds and mistreatment of children under their care at various centers. Mark Masai, NTV.
All right, well, that news takes us to a break now on NTV Tonight, but there is more coming up. Empty classrooms and fearful people in northern Kenya. The ghosts of terror.
Your multi-bet is on its way to hit the bullseye. Oh, you lose one match, but only in Mozart. Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Who wants to answer? Mary?
Mary has a toothache.
Oh, I see. And who knows why?
Because her tooth is too big.
No, it might be a hole in her tooth called a cavity. That's why I brush twice a day using Colgate.
Imagine this is your tooth and these are food acids that cause cavities. Colgate with calcium and fluoride helps prevent cavities
for maximum cavity protection.
And now available in a 12-gram sachet for fresh breath. Only 15 shillings.
I am pleased by just the simple little things of life. And I promise if you take the time, you won't be looking for too long before you find this little secret of mine.
Every day, NTV News Team moves you to the center of the action.
The security forces who took part in this operation.
Police are not taking anything to chance.
Moves you to the heart of the story to witness and record history.
Rendering the declared results null
and void.
Telling the story of Kenya
The growing importance of border in Mandera.
Matatus will be on strike.
and beyond.
The politics in the United States capital.
It is the 7th edition of the Global Education taking place in Dubai.
When it comes to business, we crunch the numbers and unpack the detail with the latest information for your investment decision.
It's time to say goodbye to this note and karibu to this note.
In order for the manufacturing sector to be elevated from the ground.
Despite the government's promise to create at least 1.3 million jobs.
Moves you fast past the planes and trucks to bring you the triumphs and joys of our great men and women.
Moving stories that touch our hearts.
I didn't know that I could go back to school.
The Back to School program has brought hope to these young mothers.
NTV News. News that moves you.
Ukifungua mwaka na hasira hivi, si mwaka mzima utakuwa na hasira.
Hata mimi natafuta hiyo kifunguo, nifungue mwaka vile unataka sasa.
Hata kama class 8 sikupata first grade, haimaanishi sijui kama nyama iko na vitamin.
Spaghetti, mkate, mama, madazi. Umemaliza? Basi pada huko juu ukachukue goza witi wewe dokafue.
Mimi nifulie awidhi mimi.
Sasa inafaa tuongee tu vile tunza make ma junior.
Ati what? Watoto?
Nangoja nini?
It's 1:30. Welcome back. Now, learning activities have been paralysed in many schools in the northeastern region, more so in Garissa County, following a spate of attacks by Al-Shabaab. Most non-local teachers have left Garissa over the ensuing insecurity after 2 dawn attacks by the militant group left 4 pupils and 3 teachers dead in a week. NTV's Zainab Ismail has more.
Empty desks and deserted classrooms greet us in most schools in Garissa County. The incessant Al-Shabaab attacks targeting learning institutions have driven everyone away. Only last week, 4 pupils were killed in a pre-dawn attack in Saretho village. On Monday, 3 teachers were killed in yet another attack in Kamuthe area. Now the teachers in this region want out.
This is a serious issue and it needs to be looked and taken into consideration. We are ready to work, but we work in a safe place.
Hatuendi, we are here to stay mpaka tushughulikiwe. We are not going back. Hatutaki escort, hatutaki mambo mengine, tunataka transfer.
Education has been paralyzed and a crisis is looming.
All teachers who are non-resident were moved to safer grounds, and all of them are today in Garissa. The fate of those teachers will be decided on by Teacher Service Commission today on whether they will be transferred or otherwise.
More than 50 teachers have already left the region, fearing for their lives. They camped at the Teacher Service Commission headquarters in Nairobi, seeking audience with authorities. But Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha wants them to stay put.
I do not believe that terrorists can come out of nowhere and that the local community must now be interrogated. Let those teachers remain in peace, because I think the government is very aware. You may think you are coming back to a relative safety and you die on your bed. So it really doesn't matter. But justice must be done. It is very painful to lose a teacher.
Schools in Ijara, Kuluho, Fafi and some parts of Dadaab have not been affected by the exodus, and the teachers have been urged to continue teaching until the Teacher Service Commission gives way forward.
Let's look at this comprehension.
The whole county is on high alert. The new Northeastern Regional Coordinator Nicodemus Musyoki Ndalana says the government has heightened security operations.
We are not leaving anything untouched to make sure that we get this region to where it was.
Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Well, the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, has directed heads of schools not to turn away needy learners who report to Form 1 without fees. A number of students are still stuck at home for lack of funds, with the deadline for reporting to Form 1 fast approaching. NTV's NTV's education reporter Sharon Baranga with more.
Shalin Kisira Komoni sat her KCPE exams last year. She scored 426 marks and was invited to join Alliance Girls High School. But unlike other students, the month of December has been a painful one, as she, together with her mother, Stephanie Nashipai, went knocking on doors trying to secure a scholarship.
Mamangu akajaribu scholarships mingi, sasa nikakuwa na hopes nitaenda shule, akaanza kunitia tu hopes.
They applied for various scholarship opportunities and sought a bursary from government to no avail. The team from Equity that visited her house in Kangemi reported that they were well off. With this, she could not secure the scholarship. One of their friends tried to post her predicament on social media, and one of the interviewers who went to her house responded saying, "I personally visited them at their house in Kangemi. Some of the things I found in that house I can't find in mine." He goes on to say, her level of need is not what personally I'm looking for. She has friends on social media who can plead her case.
Wakaniambia they will call me for a second interview. To my surprise, nikasikia mtoto wangu hajachukuliwa, wanasema ati mimi najiweza, niko na vitu expensive kwa nyumba. Nikashindwa niko na kitu gani expensive.
Apart from that, there was another hurdle. Her primary school had promised her mother that she would learn on a scholarship. But when results were out, she was slapped with a pending fee of over 100,000 shillings. When we went to inquire, they could only release her results which they had held. We accompanied them to Alliance High School, where she got admitted with a promise that she will pay her school fee. Shalin lacks all requirements listed on her admission letter. In Umoja Estate, another girl is stranded at home. Levis Otieno scored 380 marks and was admitted to Buruburu Girls. Lynette was supposed to report to school yesterday, but she lacks school fees. Her father, the only breadwinner of the family, was retrenched last year.
I had to report on 13th yesterday, but my parents are not financially stable to pay my school fees, and ningeomba sana nipate help, and when I get this help, I'll work hard. The ball will be on my court so that I can achieve my dream to be a journalist.
Sikukuwa kazi mwaka iliyopita yote. Pesa nilikuwa na 20,000, nilikuwa nimemwekea yake ya kwenda shule. Na fee hapo imepita hata hiyo pesa.
The Education Cabinet Secretary, while on tour in some schools in Machakos County, gave a directive.
One child or two children or even 5 children who are unable to pay fees are not going to take your school down. And I keep saying it's a government child going to a government school. So you actually have no business asking the child to go back home.
Form 1 students started reporting to their respective schools this week, and it is expected that they will all be in school by 17th of January. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Last night, we brought you the story of Levis Otieno, a boy from Migori County who reported for Form 1 at the Kanga High School with nothing but a dream, 2 bars of soap, and his doting mother. Well, tonight we have some good news. Levis's dream of studying, despite his humble background, has come true. He's received donations from well-wishers, including a mattress, toiletries, uniform, and a cheque of 53,000 shillings from nominated MP Denita Gatti. The cash donation will pay his school fees for a year. Other well-wishers, including musician Akothe and comedian Jalango, have also pledged to help the boy during his journey. More pledges have been coming through for Levis, who is thanking the school for taking him in despite his challenges.
When I saw the plight of Levis, really, any sane Kenyan would actually do that. And I'm happy that I'm doing this in the most prestigious school we have in our county and in our region of Nyanza, which is Kanga High School.
So I appreciate the principal for admitting me in the school without anything, without uniform, empty box. I also appreciate him. I appreciate the MP who has just brought me things here. I also appreciate the boys, my fellow students who helped me with the uniform plus the shoe. I also appreciate them. Otherwise, thank you.
Well, luck did strike. Good for Levis, and there are no doubt many more children out there who need assistance, and hopefully they will get some luck too. Now, away from education, and several counties are still battling the destructive swarm of desert locusts that continue to destroy vegetation and threaten the country's food security. The counties are now appealing to the national government to intervene with aerial mass spraying of pesticides to combat the swarms.
Like a scene from an apocalyptic movie, they darken the skies as they move in swarms from county to county. Behind them, they're leaving a massive trail of destruction. In Mandera, efforts to fight the swarms of desert locusts using handheld pesticides are proving futile.
The county is losing an estimated 220 tons of vegetation destroyed by pests daily in 86 sites near human settlements where pastoralists have been hard hit. However, based on our first-hand experience in Mandera County, we take this opportunity to humbly appeal to His Excellency the President to consider the locust invasion a national disaster that requires urgent mobilization of resources and intervention.
The swarms of desert locusts from Ethiopia entered Kenya from the north. They were first spotted in Mandera on December 28th of last year before spreading to neighboring Wajir, Garissa and Marsabit. Since then, they have entered Isiolo, Meru, Samburu and Laikipia.
We have a challenge because the swarm keeps on, it's moving very fast. And once it moves in one direction, after 2 or 3 hours, it comes back.
There was panic over the locust invasion in Riandira village, Kirinyaga County, but calm was restored after the insects were identified as the longhorn grasshoppers. Farmers, with the help of stakeholders in the agriculture sector, spent the morning spraying the insects, which also ironically began destroying their crops.
They are also very destructive. Zinakuranga majani, matawi, hata mahindi inaweza kula. Lakini kucontrol hizi pests ni rahisi sana kushinda kucontrol zile zinaitwa locust.
According to a recent update by the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, more swarms of locusts are expected to come in, and some are already moving north of Mount Kenya westwards to the Rift Valley, specifically Baringo County. It is expected that some will continue northwest to Turkana County and others along the Ethiopian border. Additionally, the UN warns that all affected areas may experience an unprecedented threat to food security and livelihoods. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
All right, we are taking another short break now on NTV Tonight. The business news is up next in just a moment.
This project has now been upgraded to be a continental project, phase 2.
And we'll tell you why the LAPSSET project is back in the headlines and the current plans to ensure that its execution succeeds. Julian Zamboko with that and much more.
Eldoret Technical Training Institute, ETTI, is a student-centered institution offering competency-based training and market-driven courses at higher diploma, and certificate level. Registration for January, May, and September 2020 intakes is ongoing in the following programs: Building and Civil Engineering, Business Administration and Commerce, Agriculture and Animal Health, Travel, Tourism and Hospitality Management, Education, Social Studies, Information Communication Technology, Accounting, Banking and Finance, Medical and Health Sciences, Journalism and Mass Communication. Apply now. SMS your details to the numbers on your screen. Eldoret Technical Training Institute. Growing reputation.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology, to fight multiple tough pains, with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Prepare yourself for a new live bet experience.
top minute, boosted live bet odds. Mozart, make a decision.
This festive season, get a fully connected StarTimes satellite dish for an amazing offer of only 2,999 shillings. Children can enjoy amazing cartoons on Nickelodeon, while for women, great soaps and drama on Novella E+ and Rambo TV. For men, it's Arsenal and Manchester United. You can also pay 1 month and enjoy 2 weeks free on a higher bouquet. For more information, call 0719 077 077. StarTimes, enjoy digital life.
Glad you could join us on The Only Name in Business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. Ethiopia has affirmed its commitment to the Lamu Port South Sudan-Ethiopia Transport Corridor project, even as the project seeks to rope in and traverse more nations in a bid to make it a continental project. Such is the expansive nature of LAPSSET, which will take up trillions of shillings to complete, that its cost cannot be currently quoted. Kenya played host to the just concluded first ministerial meeting for LAPSSET countries. And that story will be coming up shortly to us with the more details on the same project, which certainly we have been focusing on for a bit of a while. LAPSSET is definitely something which has been a matter of great interest in terms of expansion of the region.
There are media reports that following the rapprochement between Ethiopia and our brothers Eritrea, that Ethiopia is backtracking. There is no question whatsoever for Ethiopia not to see the LAPSSET corridor is being implemented.
The first 3 berths will be ready this year because the first berth is already available and complete. And what we've done now to make sure that the time of talking has ended is even to negotiate with the shipping company. We have one of the largest shipping companies, Maersk, and we agreed with them that in the month of February, they will dock one of the largest ships at Lamu.
This project has now been upgraded to be a continental project, phase 2. As phase 1 linked the port of Lamu to the cities of Addis Ababa and Juba. Then phase 2 will continue from Juba through the Central African Republic, capital of Bangui, go through the Cameroonian capital of Yaoundé to the port of Kribi.
And elsewhere, President Uhuru Kenyatta is seeking to have the Central Bank of Kenya weigh in on reforms aimed at reversing the damaging effects of the interest rate caps. Last year, the interest rate cap on loans, which had existed for 3 years, was done away with, but not before it had done plenty of damage to the economy. Victor Kiprop examines the president's take on the push to undo the far-reaching effects of the rate cap.
By the time President Uhuru Kenyatta put pen to paper last year to scrap the interest rates cap for commercial banks, the country's economy had already felt the heat of its effects for the 3 years it existed.
Unfortunately, the law had the opposite effect on the economy and reduced the amount available for credit. The removal, therefore, of the interest rate cap in November last year will facilitate the availability of more credit to businesses, which it will in turn increase the circulation of money.
Such as a zeal by the president to have measures put in place to address the impact of the rate caps, that he would like the Central Bank of Kenya, which was opposed to the introduction of the rate caps right from the onset, to develop a strategy to increase the level of access to credit for businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises.
I urge the Central Bank of Kenya to use the full range of instruments of regulation and policy at its disposal to prevent predatory lending and to ensure that banks can offer loans at affordable interest rates. Micro, small, and medium enterprises, this sector is indeed the lifeblood of our economy.
Micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, account for more than 80% of all businesses in Kenya and employs more than 75% of the country's working population. But challenges including limited access to credit and government bureaucracy have blunted their competitiveness and constrained their growth.
As a result, the combination of MSMEs to the country's gross domestic product is currently only at 30%, a figure that could be much higher if we were to realize their full potential.
The president's quest to reverse the economic losses from the imposition of the red caps is a step in the right direction, even as his administration grapples with the fact that growth of credit to the private sector is likely to be a protracted affair. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
And staying with that matter, a rebound in growth of credit to the private sector following the repeal of the cap on lending rates in November last year is expected to be one of the key drivers of economic growth in 2020. Analysts at ICE Lion Group say that the repeal should see the amount of credit taken up by the private sector resume its pre-rate cap level by the end of this year. The company, however, warns that failure to contain the ongoing Locust invasion threatens to dampen economic growth.
Private sector credit growth was almost 400 billion shillings per year in the years leading up to the rate cap. After the rate cap was introduced, we saw private sector credit growth plummet to 50 billion shillings and below in 2017. However, we see that in 2019, private sector credit growth is expected to triple from 60 billion shillings that was advanced in 2018 to almost 200 billion shillings in 2019. And going into this year, 2020, we expect private sector credit growth to surge to 300 billion shillings.
It is the 14th of the month. Let's talk about pump prices. The prices of fuel products are expected to go up marginally effective midnight tonight, spelling tougher times for consumers and businesses in the month ahead. The maximum retail price of super petrol in Nairobi will now be 110 shillings and 20 cents per litre, 70 cents higher than it has been over the last 1 month. The price of a litre of diesel goes up by 54 cents to 102 shillings and 32 cents. Users of kerosene will have to absorb an increase of a shilling and 64 cents to part away with 103 shillings and 95 cents per litre. This increase has been attributed to the rise in the cost of oil in the global market. And that's it from the business desk. Up next is the financial report.
Look at this. And this. So this? Why is this so? The culture of good driving and road safety starts with attending the right driving school and receiving the right driving instructions. Now you know. AA Kenya.
Register today for your driving classes. Dial *650#.
For 100 years now, AA has walked with you throughout the journey. Automobile Association of Kenya. You never drive alone.
Welcome back. Chief Justice David Maraga has called on the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal to effectively resolve disputes dogging political parties in Kenya for the country's democracy to mature. Maraga says political parties should be facilitated to play their specific roles in leadership and governance for the country to realize social, economic and political growth. The CJ was speaking after presiding over the swearing-in of the chairperson of the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal, Desma Nungo. At the same time, the chairperson of the Sports Dispute Tribunal, that's John Ohaga, has been sworn in for a second term. All right, time for a breather. The sports news with Ida Waringa is up next.
Eldoret Technical Training Institute. Registration for January, May and September 2020 intakes is ongoing. Apply now. Eldoret Technical Training Institute. Growing reputation.
Your multi-bet is on its way to hit the bullseye. Oh, you lose one match, but only in Mozart. Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
Molfix breathable surface developed with airsoft technology is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I've found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Ukifungua mwaka na hasira hivi, si mwaka mzima utakuwa na hasira.
Hata mimi natafuta hiyo kifunguo, nifungue mwaka vile unataka sasa.
Hata kama class 8 sikupata first grade, haimaanishi sijui kama nyama iko na vitamini.
Spaghetti, mkate, mama, madazi. Umemaliza? Basi pada huko juu ukachukue goza witiwe dokafue.
Mimi nifulie awiti mimi.
Sasa inafaa tuongee tu vile tunza make ma junior.
Ati what? Watoto?
Nangoja nini?
With Lipa na M-Pesa, you get more. Every 100 shillings spent on Lipa na M-Pesa earns you an entry into the draw. Do more with Lipa na M-Pesa.
Ukifungua mwaka na hasira hivi, si mwaka mzima utakuwa na hasira.
Hata mimi natafuta hiyo kifunguo, nifungue mwaka vile unataka sasa.
Hata kama class 8 sikupata first grade, haimaanishi sijui kama nyama iko na vitamini.
Spaghetti, mkate, mama, madazi. Umemaliza? Basi pada huko juu ukachukue goza witiwe dokafue.
Mimi nifulie awiti mimi.
Sasa inafaa tuongee tu vile tunza make ma junior.
Ati what? Watoto?
Nangoja nini?
NTV Sport in association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29990.
Hello, time for sports. I'm Ida Waringa, and we start things off with some good news for hosts Kenya, who have gotten their FIBA Afro Basketball pre-qualifiers off to a winning start by bagging a 112-64 win over Eritrea. Now, the last time the national men's team, Kenya Morans, played in Kenya was in 1993 during the Afro Basketball Championships held at Kasarani, and fans packed the Nyayo National Stadium Gymnasium to the rafters. Next up, the Morans faced Tanzania at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday. In the earlier kickoff, South Sudan walloped Somalia 114-79. The towering South Sudanese were dominant in all departments, controlling the boards in both ends. South Sudan play Eritrea in their second match on Wednesday at 2 p.m., while Somalia take on Burundi at 4 p.m. Well, Joe Okudo is the new Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Sports, replacing Ambassador Kirimi Kaberia, who served a controversial 2-year term under 3 cabinet secretaries. We evaluate what the latest cabinet shuffle means for Kenyan sport, as well as the legacy left behind by former PS Kaberia. Friday's arrival of the national women's volleyball team from Cameroon was the last official public appearance by Ambassador Kirimi Kaberia as the sports principal secretary. The immediate former sports PS had high hopes for the new year in as far as the sports ministry was concerned.
We have no time, there's no room for break. We'll hit the ground running because the deadlines for certain or benchmarks for some of the timelines are coming really, really fast. I, Kirimi Peter Kaberia.
But the former ambassador will have to redo his 2020 vision as he heads to the Ministry of Mining and Petroleum in the same capacity with former tourism PS Joe Okudo, the new PS at Kencom House. Okudo isn't new to the ministry, as he previously served as the Principal Secretary for Arts and Culture in the Sports, Culture and the Arts Ministry under then CS Hassan Wario. The Copenhagen University MBA holder has also served in various roles in the business sector, and it's hoped that he will be able to lend that expertise to the sports ministry, especially in his role as administrator of the sports fund. The sports fund has proved to be a hot potato, with several federations accusing Kaberia of denying them necessary finances from the kitty.
The head of cartels in your ministry is your PS.
The federations also must begin to look at what it is they are providing to the sponsors. They have to have good management. They can't be a reputational risk, for instance.
Okudo, who still has to go through parliamentary assent, will have a busy entree as he assumes office. In 2020, Kenya is set to host the European Tour Magical Kenya Open, the World Athletics Under-20 Championships, the Safari Rally leg of the World Rally Championship, as well as having bid for a leg of the World Athletics Continental Tour in May. In addition, Kenyan sportsmen and women will compete in the Tokyo Olympics. Ambassador Amina Mohammed retains her post as Sports Cabinet Secretary. Moving on, and gaming firm Betway is the new sponsor for the Domestic Cup, whose winner represents Kenya in the CAF Confederation Cup. Betway will sponsor the FKF Cup to the tune of 15 million shillings per year for the next 3 seasons. Now, the competition, previously known as Sport Pesa Shield, will now be known as the Betway Cup. At the announcement of the sponsorship, the draw for this season's competition was done, with 32 teams set to face off in the preliminary round. Holders Bandari, last year's runners-up Kariobangi Sharks, record Kenyan Premier League champions Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards are among top-tier sides that have been given a bye to the next round.
What we are doing now is to support grassroots football talent in Kenya, since this tournament brings together teams from all leagues in the country. We'd also like to ask the government to give gaming industry an opportunity.
Finding a partner is not easy in this environment today. We have been fighting, and thanks to my team.
Crossing borders now, in Tottenham will be seeking to book their place in the FA Cup 4th round when they welcome Championship side Middlesbrough to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That will be at 11:05 p.m. tonight in the 3rd round replay. A Lucas Moura goal spared Spurs the blushes at the Riverside Stadium at the start of the year after Ashley Fletcher had given Jonathan Woodgate's side a surprise. Ready for the first episode of Sidebar this year. Do have a good one. We play again tomorrow.
NTV Sport in association with MozartBet. SMS NTV to 29990.
Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
Right, it's just gone 10 o'clock. Time to wind up NTV Tonight. Thanks for watching. David Agondoa has been our sign language interpreter. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Next up, it's Sidebar with Ken Majungu. Stay tuned.